Doom v Vamus v Vamus Epicureans. This is the Marvel Epic Collection Podcast One-Shot Edition. I'm your host, Nick Smith, and I'm joined by...
Stojr from Stojr Shelf. How's it going, Nick?
I'm doing well, particularly since we are participating in Kurtis Findlay's Epic Marvel Podcast Reading Club, and this one-shot is going to be our brief thoughts on today's issue, which is... Oh, I still have the comic viewer on. I did all that prep right before we started recording to get the PowerPoint ready, and I have it hidden. There we go. All right. You know, one of these days we're going to figure out how to do a podcast. One of these days.
We'll get big enough and we'll have like an assistant to it at that point.
Oh,
So.
wouldn't that be lovely? Yeah, we're accepting applications if you guys want to be a producer or we'll hear you out. Okay, Uncanny X Men number 136, Child of Light and Darkness. Dark Phoenix returns to Earth and lands at the childhood home of Jean Grey. The X-Men have been putting together a plan to stop her, including a psionic dampening device that the Beast whips together. But when they confront Jean, the Phoenix is able to easily overwhelm the X-Men, dampening the device and all. Only when Cyclops reveals himself and speaks to Jean does she begin to waver, and this permits Professor Xavier to mentally attack and erect a series of psionic circuit breakers, which traps the power of the Dark Phoenix. In the end, though, Phoenix and the X-Men all mysteriously disappear. All right, Stojr, what are your thoughts?
I mean, this is a great conclusion to Dark Phoenix storyline. I like the family elements that are in here of, Jean is trying to regain control, but she's so powerful that she can kind of hear the innermost thoughts of her whole family, and that's kind of driving her a little bit crazy and really bothering her. I think that makes a lot of sense. I love having Hank around. There's a little bit of, a little bit of hinting there that he might be getting in a little bit of trouble or causing some trouble with his role for the Avengers, because we got President Jimmy Carter, which is great that they I always love when they draw the presidents in here, and I think they got smart at some point with the sliding time scale and they started just putting them in shadows so that it could be any president. But you get I've seen almost every president up to at least Obama.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I've seen Trump in a Marvel comic yet.
At
I
least
think
not as
they might have
president.
stopped him. Yeah, not as president, but they might have stopped it around then. But I remember, you get Bill Clinton was at the Superman's funeral with Hillary. I remember seeing that image. I know that's DC. But there's been a bunch of these guys throughout all the different comics. But anyway, so it's always fun to see it, even if it does date the comic a bit. Where he's in there. So anyway, so the only thing with this issue that it feels a little I don't know, Deus Ex Machina with Professor X able to take her down. I know they kind of explain it with that she's helping to fight him back, but it's not really clear. And it makes you feel again, what is Professor X's power set, right? It's like he's this feeble old man in a wheelchair until they need to whip him out, and he's the OP that's going to knock anybody out. So I think the explanation's acceptable, but it raises a little bit of an eyebrow for me there. And then just as quickly as it's solved, we're off to the next problem as they're teleported away.
Yeah,
What did you think?
I think with the Professor X thing, right, that's kind of the whole shtick. He's got the most powerful brain in the universe, or at least on Earth anyway, and yet he is physically incapable, right? And I think that's meant to be the dichotomy there. It does speak, I guess, to the power of Professor X that he can somehow overwhelm the Phoenix, although at this stage we don't... I was going to say we don't really know what the Phoenix powers are other than she can eat a damn sun. So... how can a super brain guy really fight that? I don't know. But yeah, maybe to what you say, Jean is helping out, maybe. Or I think an explanation is given that Scott being there and talks her down is disarming her, and maybe Scott could have succeeded if Professor X hadn't butt in. But it still kind of worked anyway, I guess. But yeah, great issue. Lots happening. I'm really not sure what more I can say. Really, the power of the Phoenix and Phoenix taking over Jean is frightening, and I do like how it seems to be the happy ending that we're all hoping for, right? They couldn't possibly get rid of one of the earliest members of the X-Men after all, or at least that's what we would be thinking when this came out in real time. So to have them suddenly disappear at the end, okay, we're just going to be off to the next wacky adventure. Never mind that Jean ate a star. But yeah, great stuff, and, well, more fun to come.
Yeah, I will. One last comment. I did enjoy. There's an image on page 142 of Jean kind of suspending all of the X-Men next to each other, and it reminded me of, I think Byrne did this on Avengers later. Maybe in about 50 issues on Avengers, he does some fill-in issues, but it's that Seasons of the Witch, and I think the Scarlet Witch is kind of going evil, and she's got the Avengers kind of, they might even be upside down, but they're all kind of dangling, up there in a very similar pose where it's like, hey, the female person who's being possessed is now suspending the team and restraining them all, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
You say that, and there's a part of me that thinks in Byrne's run on the Fantastic Four, he does something similar. I think there's a cover that has them like that. I've got a vague memory in my mind, but I can't. I can't think. I can't think of it. I wouldn't be able to place it. But I've got this image of, the way he draws Sue Storm, of her kind of suspended like that, and at least Mr. Fantastic next to her. I don't know. You checking your shelf?
Yeah, I got the Omnis, and the covers are on the back, so
it may not be a cover. It might be a splash page, but
yeah, there's something somewhat similar as a cover, but it's who's that guy? The Alchemist or whatever his name is.
Diablo?
And they're kind of suspended above it, but they're not. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but it's this one here on the edge. But I don't think that's what you're thinking of. I think you're thinking of something that's a little bit closer to what's actually in this issue. So yeah, it's probably in there somewhere as a splash page.
Yeah. Okay. It's been a while since I've read those two, so. All right. Any other final thoughts, Stojr?
I mean, I need to find out where they got transported to now. We got to move on to the next issue.
Right, exactly.
Can't leave it like that. You got naked Jean with a robe, transported away with the rest of the X-Men. What's going on here?
Yeah, we need to see if that robe stays there or not. Wait, that's the mentality of who they're supposed to be writing comic books for, right? All right, guys.
Yeah.
Well, if you've enjoyed our thoughts, again, catch us on YouTube, follow us on YouTube, follow our audio podcasts, wherever good podcasts are caught, I guess, or even bad ones, because I think we've established we're a bad one. We aspire, though. All right. Thank you very much, guys. We'll catch you again tomorrow, and we'll see where this goes.